Have a great meeting.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen Lee Johnson, and I would like to welcome you to the December 7th Downtown Design Review Committee meeting. Our committee meets to basically review new projects that are coming before the Downtown Commission. We review overall designs, general compliance, and oftentimes make requests or suggestions to development teams. All committee members and staff are participating virtually today. We appreciate your patience as we work through committee meetings a bit differently nowadays. We're streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the community page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by calling. For those of you that are out there with us today, welcome. I think I'm going to do a roll call now. Looks like everyone is here. I'll go through and introduce all the committee members and acknowledge those that are participating virtually today. Please make sure each of y'all that your microphone, if you're not speaking when you have a question or you'd like to speak, unmute your microphone. Please remember to mute your phone after you're done speaking. Committee members, as I call your name now, if you will please say a quick hello. Brian Moffitt.
Hello.
Robin Rains.
Hello.
Hello. Pam Winkler.
Hello.
Great. So that's everyone, I believe. So to help the audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda. I think we just have one item today, but typically we do this aloud and do a vocal roll call after each vote. Additionally, I'll ask that the committee members raise their hand to speak, and we can call you at that time. So I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sasha.
Okay, thanks. So we really only have one item on the agenda today. And that is a new project on Woodfin Street at the 4 Point Sheraton. And this would be a conditional zoning project. I will turn it over to the design team and let them talk through their design, and they can tell us about their timeline.
Okay, good morning. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to meet with us virtually this morning. My name is Peter Alvarez. I'm the director of the Asheville Office of MHA Works, who are the lead designers for the 4 Points project. And with me in the room are Eric Howell, who's a project manager, and Sid Jaggers. She's going to be the project architect. So we're the team of three here. On the architectural side, civil design concepts, they will be the civil engineer, consultant team for the project, and we have Chris Day and Warren Sugg here as well. We're fairly early in the design process, and it's an appropriate time to meet with the design committee, with the Downtown Commission. We've seen us come before on other projects. I believe the last one was 72 Broadway last year, and we've had other projects before that project as well. We have always felt very positive about these meetings. We've always received excellent information and feedback that have helped make our projects more successful, particularly the suggestions on the 72 Broadway project that really made it a better project all around, and sincerely appreciate the effort that this committee puts into providing feedback and information to designers. This project is much larger than the 72 Broadway project in terms of its height and scope. It's on the site of the existing Sheraton 4 Points property, which was built, we believe, probably in the late 60s, early 70s. It's a 4.5-story hotel that sits in the middle of a parking lot bordered on two sides by the interstate highway, one side by Central Avenue, and the main public street is the is, of course, Woodfin Street.
Hey, Peter, would you like for me to present up the site plan just to talk from?
Yeah,
I know you guys have all the other stuff. I didn't know if it would help just.
Yeah, go ahead, Warren. Put the site plan up, and then we'll go through it from a site standpoint. Then we have a series of 3D model images that we'd like to share as well. So that's the site, just to give context. On the right-hand side of the screen is the YMCA. On the left-hand side is the on-ramp and off-ramp for I-240. 240's to the north, or the upper side of the screen, and of course south is Woodfin Street. The majority of the building that you see here that's existing is 4.5 stories tall, with a 1-story wing that encompasses a lobby and a restaurant and some meeting space and some outdoor amenity space. The part that you see in blue outline is the footprint of the proposed new building. Now, right now there are 150 hotel rooms in the project, and we are not adding any more hotel rooms to the overall mix. So we're not adding hotel rooms, but we are upgrading the lobby and the large meeting room and adding a pre-function space to serve the meeting room. The ballroom. The ballroom is now the restaurant, which will be moved to another part of the building. The hotel rooms themselves will be renovated under a separate contract by a different interiors firm and contractor. It's mainly changing out furniture and finishes and things like that. We will be working on the facade of the existing building to have it match with the proposed facade of our new building. So that's it. Well, the other pieces of this that Warren is showing, the red lines indicate some type of retaining wall structure. We're looking at the driveway entrances to make them more compatible with the city's driveway part of the zoning guidelines. So that's where we are right now in terms of the overall site plan layout of the project.
Peter, to speak to the driveways you made reference, with this being really a retrofit on the existing building and keeping the existing, much of the existing surface parking, the existing building and so forth, we did recognize that the 2 curb cuts that are on Woodfin Street are not ideal in terms of where they're located. So we were proposing to shift the east one over so that it aligns with Market. Is it Market or the one over? Have it align, and then also there's a really wide one adjacent to I-240, and so we're proposing to kind of narrow that drive down and pull it away from the interstate on ramp a little bit. And we've already started some conversations with city transportation staff about that, so that those get narrowed down and improved for pedestrian access across through there. Warren, is there anything else on your end in regards to the site before?
No, I think that hits it. I just wanted to throw this up if needed. I know Peter's group has got a lot more to show.
Let's go to the, see if you want to pop up or here, put
the other thing I'll note while we're moving to Peter's sheets, we are, Woodfin is a key pedestrian corridor. So we're providing, I think 12-foot sidewalks along Woodfin, and then I think Central is, Warren, that's not a key pedestrian corridor, and I think that's still a 10-foot sidewalk.
That's right. And I think the other thing it made me think of too, and we'll see it in Peter's diagrams, but along Woodfin, yeah, we've got that frontage of the parking deck that would have some facade that would be usable space.
Yeah, we've got along Woodfin, we've got the 20-foot of habitable space as a requirement for in front of the parking area. So good thought.
Can everybody see the screen?
We can, but we just see the meeting. You have to go to your tab or your window with the drawings.
Okay.
How about now?
Nope, not yet. 1 second.
How about now?
Looks great.
Okay. All right, this is our proposed design on the site. It's right now what we're showing. Well, let me back up for a second. We're too early in the design process to talk about materials at all. So what you're seeing here is essentially what would be a chipboard model of the mass of the building. And as you can see, it wraps around the existing hotel with the tallest part facing the interstate. And it begins to step down as it moves south and then to the east along Woodfin Street. And then drops down to 4 stories tall at the intersection of Woodfin and Central Avenue, which matches approximately the height of the end east wall of the existing hotel. Now, in this version of the model, we haven't shown any new work on the hotel yet, because we'll probably have something to show the next time we meet. But for now, what we want to show you is the overall mass of the project and its scale and location. Topographically, the site is relatively low compared to the rest of downtown. We think that when 240 was built, a lot of the land from where the existing hotel is located was excavated and used to build up that portion or area of 240 adjacent to it. So it's down in a hole pretty much from the lower part of, or from the upper part of downtown. In scale, the intention is to divide the building mass into 4 or 5 elements that, whereas the building will be connected internally for circulation and exiting, the intent is to break the mass down so that it appears to be multiple buildings in a building block. So what you see on the left-hand side, before the recess, that would be one building. The building that has the green roof element, that would read as another building. The building that has a round corner would be a third building, and the other portion facing Woodfin Street would be the fourth building. So we'll probably divide that fourth building possibly into 2 components, so that there'll be a total of 5 buildings shown. Now, what we're trying to do is use a material palette. This is just for discussion and thought right now, but a material palette that's compatible with the materials in downtown Asheville, but also introduce some other materials that may be appropriate. So we're looking at, on the left-hand side of the screen, is some type of panel that would be used maybe in one portion of the building, different colors of brick, a lot of use of glass, particularly along the street level at Woodfin. The image in the upper right side indicates how we would, or an opportunity to split a building component so that there would be a glass separator between 2 building elements that would have different types of materials, yet their floors would align. So we're spending a lot of time now looking at strategies to break this massive building up into elements that would read as separate buildings but still be in a unified project. We want to use green roofs as much as possible to mitigate the loss of the pervious soil that's on the site right now, and also to provide an outside space that residents or users on the upper part of the building can not just look down on a roof, but look down on a grassed area. So we have 2 or 3 different stepped levels of green roof. So you go back to the model again, go back one more. In terms, or the next one that shows in terms of the function of the building, as I mentioned before, there won't be any new hotel rooms added, but we will be, those rooms will be being renovated, and also we will be adding a pre-function room for the hotel ballroom. But the majority of the building will be residential condominium units, which will be approximately 100, which will be on the center 2/3 of the project. On the left-hand side, that will be an apartment building. And on the top, where you see the dark area, that's actually an outside space. That will be a rooftop restaurant that will be accessible to everyone in the building, but also the public. So it'll be similar to the restaurant and bar that's on the top of the AC Hotel, and it's open to the public and to the guests of the hotel, and of course the residents in the building. At the round portion, or the curved portion of the building on the top, there's an outdoor amenity space for the condominium owners and their and guests. And down at the bottom of the curved portion that's kind of behind the tree will be a 3,500 square foot Earth Fair store. The developer of the property, Dennis Hulsing, he and his group have bought up all the available Earth Fair stores out of bankruptcy last year. He's been slowly renovating them and reopening them. And what he wants to do is open up an Earth Fair in this building at street level that would be serviced every day or so from the Earth Fair in West Asheville over at Westgate. Along Woodfin Street, look at the other, along there underneath where it shows as a dark gray charcoal band, that which is where the parking garage will be. They'll be activated. There'll be 2 retail spaces, one that's at the corner of Woodfin and Central Avenue. Then there'll be another one in the middle, another small retail space. Then there's the garage entry. And then next to that will be the lobby and entry into the condominium building. And then to the left of that all that will be the Earth Fair store that will, again, it's about 3,500 square feet of interior space and probably 300 or 400 square feet of outside dining space for when the weather's nice. So that's sort of an overview of the overall function of the building. It's a high-rise building. The tallest portion is the apartment building, which we feel is appropriate to put in next to the highway and then step the building down as we move from the northwest portion of the site to the southeast portion of the site, to bring it down into more of the scale of 60 North Market and the Masonic Lodge and the other taller buildings within the area. So we're trying to work in a concept that breaks the mass of the building down into smaller parts, but yet is a unified project. The total square footage, including the existing hotel and the parking, is about 450,000 square feet. So it's relatively a large project. So we identified early on the need to really break this down into more building elements that are more in scale with the adjacent properties.
We want to go over the floor plans?
Yeah, let's look at the floor plans. Give us a second. Okay, this diagram here shows the mix of the building uses. The part that's in the light green, that's the existing hotel that will remain as is pretty much. The light blue going up will be the condominium portion of the building. The crosshatch part within the condominium space, those are public spaces, the 2 retail spaces to the right-hand side, and then in the middle is the Earth Fair store. The cream colored footprint, that's where the apartment building will be. And adjoining that to the left is a new entry to the hotel, which will be underneath the apartment portion of the building. Now, the hotel entry will be there where the hand is. Over opposite that area right there will be the entry to the apartment building. And then over on Woodfin Street will be the entry to the condominium building. So we have multiple entrances into the different functions of the overall project. The next several drawings, it shows underground parking that's below the condominium. We have about 145 structured parking spaces. Warren, I can't remember how many total we have, but we have enough to way more than adequately serve the hotel and the condominium based on zoning ordinance and the need for one parking space for every 2 hotel rooms. So as this steps up through the building, go to that right there. This is the view that shows what's happening at street level. On the left-hand side, that's the Earth Fair store with the entry at the corner and the outdoor plaza space that adjoins it. And then as we move right, there's the condominium lobby, which has exit stair and elevator, seating area, mail room, place for bike storage, shipping and receiving, things like that. And then, of course, the entry into the parking garage itself, which is recessed back from the street. Then next to it are 2 retail spaces that face Woodfin. And then behind it is the structured parking with a ramp that leads up and down to the 5 levels of parking. Then up above that, skip these, go to the floor plan, some typical level. Yeah, now again, on the upper part of the building, you see the apartments on the upper side. They're typically 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and then below that on the screen are the first levels of the condominium units that are tied back or accessed from the parking garage. And then on above that are the condominium units, the exit stair, elevator core, and the circulation that ties it all together on each level. But again, we're looking at having each of these building elements read as separate buildings to break up the relatively large mass of the project. Then on up to this level, this is the amenity space that's for the owners. This will be an inside space for them, similar to what's at 60 North Market, and then an outside terrace space. And then on up to the top level of the apartment building is the rooftop restaurant that has inside and outside dining with direct elevator access from the hotel lobby. So guests coming to the site can park or walk to the front entry and take an elevator up to this level. So there'll be a kitchen, of course, restrooms and dining area, and outside a bar area and outside dining as well. These are the elevations. Again, please keep in mind that we have not made any selections yet in terms of materials and finishes. This gives you an idea of the amount of glass opening, the size of the balconies, where the recesses are, what potential shadow lines can look like, things like that. This is the primary facade that faces Woodfin Street, which is of course, the key pedestrian street. We're again looking at what type of screening to use for the parking garage, which is why right now it's just shown as blank. And then of course, this is the backside showing. This is from the interstate, the existing hotel, and then the apartment building portion is to the right, and then the condominium part is in the background beyond. This is the view from Central Avenue, and see the elevation of the existing hotel room and then the end elevation of the parking garage and retail space. So we're trying to bring the scale back down to align with the existing hotel building on this side of the site. And I think, let's see, you guys have anything else you want to add to that right now? Everyone, that's where we are right now. We're, the scope of, well, the timing on the project, we realize we're at the beginning of the entitlement phase of the project. The owner would like to be taking this to city council per the schedule that Civil Design Concepts has put together, and have it through the process and in front of city council sometime in June or July. We will be developing our schematic design development and construction documents in parallel with the entitlement process, so that once we receive the entitlement, we would be able to complete TRC, finish the construction drawings, submit for permitting, and with the goal of being under construction by the 1st of November 2021. In conversation with the owner last week, what they're thinking about is trying to, we've got to vet this internally first, but they're interested in possibly letting a core and shell permit out earlier, probably sometime midsummer, in order to have that portion of the work under construction by maybe late summer, maybe early fall, but a little bit before November 1st. Don't know if that's feasible or not, but currently the schedule is to have permits in hand and ready for construction by November 1st. We are going to be soliciting proposals from general contractors to provide pre-construction and pre-development services to us and be part of the building team. I'm working on those proposals right now. We'd like to have that contractor on board when we finish schematic design, which will be sometime in January. So,
okay, thank you.
You guys, Stephen Lee, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. And
yeah, thank you, Peter and Chris and Warren. I'm going to open this up to the committee members now to discuss. Pam, I think you had a question.
A couple. I wondered how many floors is it on the Woodfin side, and how many units of condominiums?
There are 100 condominium units, I believe about 55 or 60 apartments. It's what, 11 or 12 floors on the apartment side and 9 or 10 on the condominium side. That number right now is a little bit in play. What you're seeing here is the maximum height we could build. One thing, this is obviously a large project, and the issue of absorption of this number of units is obviously something that needs to be considered. But this is what the owner would like to do. It won't be any bigger than this. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments? Questions? Brian or Robin?
I'll go.
Okay, great.
Can you pull the two views you had up again so we can take a look at that? The 3D views in the Google Earth context, specifically the one from the Woodfin side, I think. First of all, congratulations on another huge project. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so, Peter, you're coming back to us. This is just kind of a preliminary first shot, correct? So we're going to see this again with materials and so on and so forth.
We're going to be spending a lot of time together.
Okay, perfect.
So that's the intention. Just so everyone knows, we feel we would need to meet with you at least 3 times, maybe more. And we would hope that we could maybe schedule these so they can be more often than once a month in order to help with our process and our design thinking. And you do that, we would certainly appreciate that very much. But go ahead, Brian.
No. I appreciate that. Thank you. Quick comments. One, I do appreciate and agree with a couple of design decisions. One, I kept going back and forth as you were going through it as to if there was a way to activate Central any better than what you have. I feel like I understand why you did the massing decisions the way you did, why you put the bulk of the mass kind of up against 240. I don't disagree with that. I think that's actually probably the right move. I was going around in my head as you were showing it. I also appreciate and agree with taking the building and making it, even though it's one large complex, you're going to make it look like several different buildings, so it's in an urban context. I think that's right. So a couple of things. One, just in massing, they don't look. Maybe it's going to come out in the materials, Peter. So I'm going to say it, but I'm also withholding judgment if that makes any sense. Is that they don't look different enough to me right now. Part of that is that the window, maybe it's the horizontality of the thing, maybe it's the windows are so similar in the different blocks that, and maybe that's going to come out in the material choices and how you do that. But right now, I see the different buildings, but I also don't see the different buildings. They very much look, and again, that's probably just a result of, like you said, I appreciate the chipboard model. We're all dating ourselves. That's probably a result of that. But I would say if you're going to do that, go ahead and push it a little more than you have in terms of the massing and the window placement and how you arrange them. Maybe one of them's less punched openings. You've got more either vertical or horizontal. So I would go that direction. And then my other chief kind of thing right now is I feel like Central is very much the backside of this project in a way that I think you can. I feel like you're going to address it. You just haven't done it yet. And as you move into it, you can. But that corner that we can see right there at Central and Woodfin is a pretty important corner, and I don't think it's been designed quite yet. So I look forward to seeing what you design there. And I'll keep going a little bit more. I like the curved piece on the main entrance of the corner, and I think you should push that a little bit harder. And I'd also like to see that rooftop piece on that curved piece actually look more like the curve instead of like a later addition from a different architect. Yeah, I think that's the bulk of my comments so far. And I'll stop.
Okay, thank you, Brian. One thing I wanted to mention, kind of the obvious, but I'm really excited. Once again, we've got a project coming before us that has lots of different uses. And Peter, I'd like to thank you for pushing your clients in that direction again. I think that the addition of a potential grocery store downtown, the downtown residents are going to really appreciate that. I think that just agreeing again, Peter, to kind of go through the process you've gone through before, multi-stages brought to us each step of the way, and giving us lots of time to dissect this and digest it. It is a big, complex project. And we just appreciate you informing your clients that this is how we need to see this, because this is going to take a lot of digesting. Are there any other comments from any of the other committee members? Pam, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to echo the kudos for the downtown residents. I think will be ecstatic about a downtown grocery store. And also I love seeing the green roofs. I had a question about the little green strip by 240. I don't know who owns that land, but I think that might be a real nice dog walking spot for all the residents in the apartments and condos. So if you can hang on to that, I think it's great to have somewhere for all the residents to walk their dogs, since we seem to have lots of those downtown. So I think it's a great start in having the retail down there also. Great plans.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that strip of land along 240 belongs to the NCDOT. But no one's gonna run around checking to make sure people aren't walking their dogs there, so I don't think we can call that a feature, but people will use it for that.
thanks, Peter. And Pam, I had just one general question. This is a new project, and a lot of our new projects, everybody downtown are experiencing the impacts of the tree preservation or the canopy preservation ordinance. Have y'all looked to see what kind of impact that's going to have on you here on this site?
Well, we have this, I'm not sure right now what we really need to do, because the trees that are along Woodfin right now are obviously in the public right of way, and our property line is set fairly well back. In fact, we're further back than the 12-foot sidewalk mandate. However, those trees are not, and Stephen Lee, you guys probably know more about this than we do, but they're not in that great a shape, and they're probably overgrown, and they're lifting up the sections of the sidewalk, and they probably all need to be replanted. And maybe the treescape in that whole site needs to be looked at as a replacement rather than try to preserve them.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you, Peter. It looks like it's just there's some canopy off of them, but it just looks like some diseased sugar maples in there as well. But the one thing that, if I could, just a thought on that, it doesn't look like there's any parking on Woodfin right there. What would be great is if the street trees that do go back in there could not necessarily be in grates, but worked into something else that would be a little bit more, that will provide a little bit more healthy growing condition for them. But this will be something that as y'all dig into it further will be interesting to see, but just in terms of the site in general, not necessarily the existing street trees, but what this canopy preservation ordinance is going to do to you. It's just interesting to follow along new projects, especially large tracts like this, what the impact is. So that'll be interesting. Does anybody else on the committee have any questions or comments?
Robin does. Robin.
Yeah. So the courtyard in between, I'm going to call it a courtyard, in between the existing building and the front building, how wide is that? That's going to get what, northern sun? How wide is that space going to be?
Part of it, it's fairly narrow on Central Avenue side. It's maybe 25 or 30 feet, but then it widens moving into the middle of the space. So we've done some preliminary solar studies, and it does get some daylight in there. We'll get light reflected off the existing hotel into the space. Okay. And the plan is to do as much as we can to landscape that and make it an amenity really for the hotel. But the intention of it is to maintain it as a green space. It won't be as big as it is right now, of course, but.
Right. Okay.
There'll be landscaping of some type in there.
Okay. And I also, from the 3D model that you're showing, what are your plans to make the existing hotel look like it's a part of this new building instead of just being surrounded?
Yeah, Robin, that's part of the scope of our design services, is to completely redo the exterior of that building so that it's integrated with what we're proposing. So the next time we meet, I expect we'll have taken a pass at the design of that as well.
Because there could be opportunities on the central side of that portion to open it up somewhat too.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Okay, any further comments from the committee?
Sasha.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not on the committee, but, there's some
Sasha.
feedback coming through your line, Peter, that's why I muted you before. I just have a quick question, or two questions. One is, I heard you say there's 5 levels of parking, and like right here on this 3D model, I mean, I know the black is supposed to be screening of the parking.
Yeah, there's 2 levels. There's 1 at street level, 2 underground, and 2 above street level.
Okay. That
Yeah.
helps. And then I'm going to ask, hopefully it doesn't sound dumb, but I think this is a question that people in the larger community might be thinking about. Did you consider, or why did you choose, this massing of the apartment building the way it is versus spreading it out along the site and maybe having it kind of come along this surface parking lot towards Woodfin and having a lower building overall? I mean, I guess you get less views that way, but you would certainly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we looked at that very early on. In fact, the client wanted to build everything where the apartment building is. And the more we talked about, the more we realized that there's a lot of noise from the highway. So and not build anything over the existing parking lot because it would be so close to the interstate.
Okay, you came out for a second. I missed part of that. So it sounds like it's mostly a noise consideration.
Yeah, we decided because of the noise from 240, we decided to move as much of the building as we could, either to face the off-ramp or Woodfin Street. Y'all hear that?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
But I'm sorry, this is Brian. The piece along Woodfin looks like it's roughly the same height as like Altamont Apartments. I mean, it's in the same scale, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. One thing, Sid, you have that other model?
Yeah.
We want to show you, if you guys got a minute, I want to show you another model that we're working with that's I can't remember.
InfraWorks.
It's called
InfraWorks.
InfraWorks. That's a very light in terms of the amount of data that it holds. So it's just for mass modeling, but it'll give you an idea. We will use this for the views that are required from different vantage points around the city. Now, the one from Smoky Park Bridge and Stevens Lee. But just want to give you kind of a look at what software system that we're just now starting to use on our projects that allows us to have multiple views in real time with the actual topography.
So Peter, just as you're going through it looks like it's shorter than the Renaissance as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yep.
I think the scale and massing are fine, and I'm in general agreement with breaking up the building. I would either make the building more the same, or if you're going to push the differences, push them a little more than the models currently looks like it's showing me.
But Brian, can you put up the image that has the photographs of the buildings that we looked at on the Pinterest board?
Yeah, Brian, for example, the image up in the upper right shows that is a single building with aligning floors, but completely different strategy for exterior materials, similar windows, but the building on the right side has larger windows. The one on the left has smaller punched openings. So what we're looking at is coming up with a vocabulary of components that we can repeat from building to building that will take advantage of the economies of scale and use other materials to create the differentiation. So in this, the left-hand side has brick, the right-hand side has some type of panel. Does that look, whereas in the base has what appears to be a third material with more transparency. This is the strategy we're thinking about using moving forward.
So one thing I'd point out, I appreciate you bringing that image up. The building on the right, one of the things they did is by inserting those repeated big plate glass pieces, they made that one look like a vertical building. And the one on the left, because they showed the storyline and they've got a very horizontal kind of material, they made that one look, even though they're really the same building, same plan with really similar window patterns, they made the one on the left look horizontal and the one on the right look vertical. So that's exactly the kind of refinement I'm sure you're going to do. And I think that's the direction you should be going, where you can use those two kind of really simple moves to make the buildings feel like different buildings, but congruous to each other.
Okay.
The challenge is that we have to figure out a way to have it as, think about the constructability, because we're dealing with residential units and how these units play out. It's almost like we're designing the interior spaces while we're thinking about the exterior. And we're constantly looking at different materials, windows, and we're just now getting into all of that.
Okay. Any further discussion from anyone? Sasha, do we open this up to public comment if there's any?
We have
No.
never really taken public comment at these meetings, and so I
Okay.
haven't, we should think about that for the future, but
Okay.
we're not doing live public comment in boards and committees right now anyway, and since we didn't, for this committee, we often don't have materials ahead of time. Like say for the Downtown Commission, you have public comment open till 5 p.m. the day before. I don't know what people would comment on if we haven't provided anything. So it's a strange situation. It's unique for most of our boards.
Peter had mentioned something about the possibility of maybe mid-month reviews to help kind of expedite the project. Sasha, do you have thoughts on that, about how that might work?
I would need to check with some other departments. We have, our capability is ramping up a little bit because more staff are being trained on our software for running these meetings publicly. So like right now I'm running the public input side, and like Dana, who's online, she could help run the tech stuff. So we're not as dependent on other departments. We can't conflict with other public meetings. The city in general, we're trying to be careful of staff capacity and how much time we spend running these meetings. So I think more than once a month would be really pushing it. I'll put it that way. I think, but if once a month, we could look at once a month kind of thing. I think would be more reasonable than.
Do any of the other? Go ahead, Peter.
If we could have our next meeting early in January, maybe the first part of the second week, not right after the first, but a week after that, I think that would be ideal for us, because between now and then we'd be able to address the issue of materials, breaking up the mass more. We got more to show, but it would give us time, because we need to be in schematic design development by the end of January. And if we could have that feedback early in January, I think it would help us a lot in our schedule. And if there's even a remote possibility of, even if we can't have another meeting at the end of January, if everyone felt good about the meeting 1st of January, that we're in the right direction, if y'all would be open to maybe taking a phone call from one of us to maybe talk about it informally, we would certainly appreciate that. So.
Okay,
Okay.
I could start looking at scheduling and checking into that.
Okay. I think that's it for us, Stephen Lee and Sasha. Again, thank you all very much for your time. We're very obviously very excited about this project. It's going to be a big project for downtown Asheville. We feel good about the scale, the design strategy, the mix, the retail component. So again, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Stephen Lee.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Shannon's also on the line. I just wanted to let folks know, and I don't mean to turn us backwards, but just, and Warren, I don't know if you could put a site plan up real quick or maybe Eric could, but just to let the committee know that staff does have concern. I think the bigger concern for staff right now with this project is the second driveway on Woodfin, that we have two driveways, and one of them is actually fairly close to I-240. And I heard Warren or Peter say they're trying to adjust that to be, I go home that way, and it's so interesting how close that current driveway is to the actual on-ramp. And so I don't know, Shannon, you want to add something to that?
No, it's just that we, because the scale of this project, we do expect full site compliance, and that second driveway would not be compliant. So we would look to see if it would be possible to close that. And particularly because Woodfin is a key pedestrian street, we want to try to enhance the pedestrian environment. So there is a follow-up meeting with some of our transportation staff to kind of look at options related to that driveway. I think it's later this week. Chris, Warren?
I think it may be tomorrow, Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely we recognize the current situation and recognize that it's not compliant, and are trying to find ways to bring it better, make it more compliant with the current rules, and we definitely feel like we can improve the situation for safety of both vehicles and pedestrians. That being said, we're still challenged a little bit with the retro aspect of the existing curb cuts and the existing building, and trying to work around all that. So we're just like this meeting, we're continuing to try and have conversations with staff and try and work through these things.
Thanks. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure you all knew about that. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sasha. So, and thank you, design team, on this. So I think that's the only agenda item, correct, Sasha? And I know that I believe this is going to be Pam Winkler's last meeting. She's stepping down at the end of this month. So, Pam, I'd just like to express my regret, but actually just your time on this committee has been so incredibly useful because of your experience as an architect, but also the fact that you don't have clients sitting in front of you. So you've been able to speak your mind and not really worry about the ramifications. And I think that we're going to really miss that a lot. So Brian and Robin, there's your challenge. I guess mine as well. So, but we're going to miss you, Pam. And you're still welcome to show up at these meetings and give your 2 cents. So, but thanks for your volunteering so long on the committee. So I guess, yes. I guess with that, then we can adjourn unless there are any objections. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And Peter and design team, we'll see y'all next month.